town meeting. We have basically today board business, a few items, but within the board business there are a lot of efforts that we need to talk about to sort of help us go forward until the next town meeting. First on the item A is minutes of prior meetings, September 12th, October 29th, and this, which is the special town meeting. Is there any comment on the minutes?
I just have one. It's an edit. So on the Tuesday, October 29th minutes on page 3, second, hold on, fourth paragraph up, starts with the words Cheryl Kelly resident. The third sentence reads, Kelly asked without this proposed bylaw where town can a possible cultivator applicant apply. It's pretty garbled.
Yeah.
Just couldn't make it out.
So, yep, we can go back and check the wording for that sentence.
That'd be
Yep.
great.
Yeah.
I think the word "it" should be in, but that might not be it. So anyway, that was the only thing. Thank you.
Can I hear a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as presented with
There you go.
corrections.
As presented or
With
that-
corrections.
With the correction. Thank you.
With a second?
Second.
Only two of us.
All in favor of accepting the minutes?
Aye.
Okay. Second, bills. Any bills today?
We do have bills. We have, let's see, approval of a Lowell Sun legal ad for the marijuana bylaw, one of the times it was published. And then Green International peer review for, which was it? Oh, the Taylor Street subdivision, the Strawberry Farms subdivision, between peer review and construction inspections in coordination on that. And then a group of reimbursements. We've been sending Cooper all over the state for learning activities, including the SNEPA conference, Southern New England American Planning Association conference. It was
Is
just
this
held
the conference you're at? Yeah.
Thursday and Friday.
Yeah.
Said there were over 600 attendees
Wow.
across Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut. I already picked his brain with some input from one of the sessions that he attended. So, oh, I got it.
Okay. Killing me, Swallows.
And I assume in our budget, we have money for the training.
Yes, we have training budget. I am going to reach out to HR to see if they would cover some of that so that we have a little bit of training budget left for the rest of the year.
Okay. I have in my notes, I wanted to review the town meeting. I'm not sure we need to do that without Daryl and Bartlett here. Because Daryl especially had some comments. So I'll put, I basically, we should be gratified that we got the marijuana cultivation passed. I wanted to respond to comments from the floor that were, I just wanted to respond to them. But we can do that in another meeting.
Well, no, if you want to do it, now. We have nothing going on. If you want to
Well, Daryl was the one who was particularly interested. And the comments were that the planning board said that this is a meeting that Maren and I attended, and it was prior to the town meeting. It was with the select board and the finance committee, where we presented the marijuana bylaw, where we had some surprise opposition to it. And one of the comments was, why don't I see the detailed red marks of every change we made to the bylaw? Now, we had years of hearings, and we had years of red marks, and we had, to the point where, there would have just been red. And we hired cannabis law experts to craft the bylaw. And by no means did we ever say or imply that the people we presented it to were stupid. That's all. And it was sort of an outrageous comment.
It was an outrageous comment.
And I asked Maren to look at the select board meeting film to see if, did we say that? And we did not. Although we did say, my view on this is, with something as complex as that, we have to rely on professionals who that's what they do. And we did with town council and their cannabis expert.
They wrote the whole bylaw.
And so, anyway, that was my main comment, because I thought it was sort of a personal attack.
I guess what irked me about it was the fact that we were doing what the residents in the town of Littleton asked us to do. We don't care one way or the other that there's a million
No,
candidates, you know?
and I made that clear to the select board. I said, we're bringing this forward because we had more people attending hearings on this matter than almost any other matter, and the people deserve to have it brought forward, whether you agree with it or not. And, so.
Marge, any idea what we spent on legal fees for this?
No, I
That would be interesting.
haven't seen that breakdown.
I mean, yeah.
But what I would add is that the planning board and staff did all of the usual items for outreach for a zoning bylaw amendment, including videotaping the LCTV town meeting preview, put out a detailed Q&A based on questions we heard
Right.
In the process, including at the Select Board
Yeah.
Finance Committee meeting. I did reach out to each of the people that commented at that meeting and provided answers to their detailed questions. And as you...
And you on the town website, you posted the red marked.
Yeah, we had
Yeah.
posted from,
Right.
since we started in, spring this last time around.
This-
I hope people understand, there's another part of this coming.
Well,
Well,
that's up to, it's not up to us. It's up to citizens to bring that, to convince the
For us
selectmen
to
to bring it
finish what we
forward.
started, we need a second meeting. We need a town meeting
We
in the
need a
spring.
ballot, we need a ballot
Exactly.
question.
Right.
So,
I know we're going to wait to hold off on that conversation, but it certainly, I think, from a process perspective, would make sense if we come to that decision from the planning board, that we send a letter to the select board making.
I think that's fine. But they will, to bring that forward, you will have to convince some of the select board to bring that forward. C, member input and member update on projects. Northern Bank is under construction.
Yep, the update is that the building permit, well, the foundation permit application has come in and is being reviewed. And the construction supervisor did talk with staff and shared that the full building permit application would be coming in shortly for the first building, the
For the bank
bank
building.
building on the corner.
Okay. I don't think we need to get into the details of that, but there's timing details when the sewer is coming online and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, and they do expect to, rather than try to use an interim septic system, they will
try to tie
tie in with the sewer system.
Hager Homestead. So there's been much anecdotal information about the remaining 2 affordable units at Hager Homestead. And we'd like to talk at this meeting about how they're being, what the disposition is. As I understand it, one of them is under contract, the other one is spoken for but not under contract. Is that the case? There were 2 units that were remaining that were affordable?
I did not have a chance to reach back out to the lottery agent since we spoke. Last I spoke with them, there was for the 2 lottery units, one has already closed, the 80% AMI unit already closed. The 60% AMI unit, there is one qualified applicant one applicant that has been qualified that's waiting to sign the PNS. That's why we haven't seen the paperwork back. Any applications that come in now for that unit would be backup buyers. For whatever reason, that first buyer doesn't go to closing. It happens sometimes in real estate.
And your comment, or the comment of the agent was, there's nothing about this process that's unusual or unexpected.
Yeah, sometimes it takes a while, and didn't want to try to draw inference based on this being a co-housing, a senior co-housing, which this is the first,
It's
a senior
unusual.
co-housing in the state, so it's.
So
hard to
this
draw any
brings up
conclusions.
the, this was an issue because there's a broader issue which will probably occupy our board in many fronts about how to provide affordable housing, but specifically affordable senior housing. One of the issues about, the Hager Homestead is a special, it's a unicorn project. But we don't, Martin and I were talking about this, we don't have data on what the specific need is or what the specific preferences are. And that can range from, single family to condo to for sale to rent to size to, price, et cetera. And we'd like to find a way to do some kind of, what would we call it, study, survey, report?
Yep, I would recommend a study to update information that was done through the Affordable Housing Trust a handful of years ago that outlined the types of units, of affordable units that are in need in Littleton, and that could draft a scope of services to make sure it responds to the questions that the planning board has, including rental units and a number of rental units or a number of for sale units or a combination, and at what affordability level is needed.
So, for the members that are here, how do you feel about us pushing forward this effort to study the need?
I think it sounds great. The one caveat I have that I think has been discussed over the years has been that if you can ask a resident what they think about it or what is needed, it doesn't necessarily imply that they're going to purchase or that they're going to pack up and move. And so I think it needs to be done in a way that actually gets us projected data, if you will.
And I would assume the whoever we engage to do this would know.
Right, this
how
would
to
be
do this.
more of a statistical analysis rather than a opinion
Okay.
of current residents.
That would be helpful.
Overhanging all this is the affordable units that are required out of 550 King. And it is and I'll get to that project in a minute, but it's been in the background that this building, once it's more or less emptied by all the other new facilities coming online, would be a really perfect place for senior affordable housing. That would imply the moving of the town hall after the town meeting, where we have this huge school project coming on. There's, that's just going to overhang every decision that's made about this particular issue. But Lapoli wants to, have some, it's funny, it's like a miasma of, like, could we do this? Could we do that? Could we do that? You know, and yes, we can do a lot of different things, but we have some political realities. So we want to get our ducks in a row to talk about it. And we'll get, and so let's just put that aside for now and go to 550 King. There was a meeting 2 weeks ago with the principals. It was at the water department. It was mainly for the benefit of the water department to get updates on, you know, when things are coming online, et cetera, et cetera. At this meeting, and Jim Dugan was there, Sal was there. They talked about their schedule that they're working on now. And I just want to go over quickly what their plans are. The first phase will be this. Will be housing, parking, some retail, and we'll go from King Street back. This will come online as they fill things up, and this, you know, by the same token, everything else will come online as there's demand. The parking garage, they are currently redesigning so that it is not 6 levels. They want it to be 2 or 3 levels. But that's as far, and, you know, look, the buildings look a little, I mean, they're more or less this, but they're, well, actually, they look pretty similar. There were some new renderings. It was said that they will start the infrastructure. I thought they said January, but you thought that it was later than that.
I had a follow-up conversation, Cooper and I had a follow-up conversation with their new real estate representative earlier this week, and he was suggesting that March start for the infrastructure work.
Okay. From the sewer point of view, they're assuming that the building will be, the actual plant will be done in May. There may be some construction on the piping that will continue into the, you know, and will pick up, close and pick up in the spring, particularly in the, and mainly in the King Street area, and that there will be several months of testing, and so they said September about when it would come in. So, as you know, there's a, you know, I think 80, what was it, 80-some units of senior housing, or 40?
40.
That was senior, but then there's an addition, there's some other affordable.
Right, 10% of the
Right.
total would be affordable.
So, it's a topic that, you know, they're wrestling with. We need to wrestle, I mean, they're wrestling with it. It's their responsibility to fulfill it, but they would like to fulfill their obligation in this building. They haven't specifically said that, but that's,
Well,
you know,
they kind of did tell
They
us
kinda
that
did.
early at the, right
at the very, and they are just wondering if that's
Still viable.
still viable. And it is possibly viable. And one of the issues was, well, this is right now that was programmed for a new town hall. With the Shaker Lane building, there's unlikely, to be a new town hall in the next few years. However, the IBM building is right here. It's Class A office space, and it's, on grade. And the suggestion was at the end of the meeting, well, gosh, maybe we could move the town hall temporarily into the IBM building and empty this building and use it for, so I'm just bringing you up to date. There's no decisions, no commitments, but that's what's in the ether. And on that subject, and Anna, you are in particular brought this up. We'd like to have them come and, the Lapoli group come and update us. And they have offered, we've invited them to do that, and they've offered either the December 12th or January 9th. My feeling is we should do it January 9th, because there's no time frame that we're dealing with at the moment, but how do you guys feel about that?
I won't be here December 12th,
Okay.
so January 9th.
I sort of feel like there's no harm in starting the new year off with this. What do you think?
We'll start the new year off well.
Okay, so let's invite them for the 9th.
Have they discussed anything about 410 Great Road?
Other than regretting being involved in it.
Yeah, okay.
No, because that was on the table also.
Because that was, I thought that
Absolutely.
was the discussion.
I mean, with
Those
housing and,
units
yeah.
there,
Yeah.
okay.
The next, Hager Homestead we've talked about, King Street Commons we've talked about, 12 Robinson Road we're going to talk about. We have town newsletter. Have we made any contributions to the town newsletter?
The department has not.
Okay. I think 12 Robinson ought to be on that. When it, you're buttoning it up in the next couple weeks, and it looks great, and I don't know who's,
You want to take 12 Robinson now, or do you make them wait till after 7?
we're posted for 7, and I think at 7 we could break and take care of that.
Do you care?
The Gallagher brothers are,
All right.
they're anxious behind me.
Okay.
Anxious for what?
Okay. Well, we're almost through. Town newsletter, 245 Foster Street.
245 Foster Street, we got notice from some neighbors that noticed some work was being conducted on site. So there is some site work that's going on at 245 Foster Street.
There's that work going on all of Foster Street. They're clearing all the brush, everything, getting ready
This
for the...
on the property itself, not.
Is there any permitting? No, nothing in the building department?
No.
Okay.
So
And none of the work that we've been made aware of would require planning board review.
Yeah.
So what's going on there is the people that are doing the work at 245 Foster Street, at Foster Street, are using that property to store all their equipment, and as part of it, they cleaned it up and put a roadway in so they could get their equipment in and out, because they're gonna be working on Foster Street. How I know that is I was riding my bike, I stopped there to talk to the gentleman who was clearing all the brush, and asked him about the road, and he said, that's what we're doing, we're gonna put all our heavy equipment up there. They're putting sidewalks in, they're widening the road and all of that. They've already
Right.
paved part of it.
Yeah, that was the reconstruction of that whole section of Foster
And
Street
so
that includes
Onyx is the people that are doing it, and they cleaned up and made a roadway in so that they're not gonna wreck it anymore, that it is, put gravel down, and that's where they're gonna park their equipment. That's all that's going on at 245 Foster Street, as far as I know.
Okay, so 5 minutes, let's see if we can get through the board business. The update, planning board special permit forms, firearms business, is there any update on that? You gave us a draft. I don't think we had any opinion on it.
So the changes that I had requested last time in September were made, so thank you very much for that. So we
Okay.
can proceed with the motion to adopt the updated application forms for firearm businesses then.
Are we ready for that?
Aye.
I will entertain a motion to adopt the updated special permit forms for firearms business.
Second.
Well, you say, you move, you second. And can I have a vote? All in favor?
Yes.
Okay, aye. Same thing with the special permit forms wireless communication facilities, and I don't remember what exactly that was all about.
Okay, so, go ahead. I will throw you under the bus.
When was the new?
So, several years ago, the town updated the wireless telecommunications bylaw to add features required for 5G. And some of the installations we anticipate will be in roadways and some will be off roadways, and it'll be smaller antennas on smaller installations. For example, the streetlights can be modified to have 5G antennas, and that's the standard that the Light and Water Department adopted. And this new form, updated form, reflects that standard. And that
So
part.
let's have at the next meeting, have copies of it.
It-
And- I mean, I'm sure you posted it,
Okay.
but for those of us who still use paper,
Okay.
and we'll take care of it then.
Isn't it-
And remind me, this is the first time that the
Yeah,
first meeting
that's
that you've
the
seen
first.
that.
Yeah,
So this
I-
is the,
okay.
getting it to you, so if
Okay.
you have any
So
comments.
let's have a chance to review it.
Wasn't the upgrade the fact that we were deferring some of what we used to do to the Light and Water Department because they're going to take jurisdiction? We did this years ago, maybe 6 or 7 years ago.
Right, and now we're finally getting caught up on updating the paperwork to
So
reflect
it really
that.
has nothing to do with us.
So the next item going forward in the next year, we have been authorized funding for a zoning diagnostic at town meeting, and we have
You have it,
prepared an RFP,
a
and, but we
request for
haven't.
quotes, actually.
Request for quotes, but we haven't distributed it or opened it. Have we had any, I mean, what's the process?
Right, so I was asking for any input that the planning board might have on the details of it and authorization to distribute it.
Okay. Next, accessory, one of the efforts for Springtown meeting will be the accessory dwelling unit bylaw update. This is made possible by legislation from the state in July that explicitly allows them. However, and we will have to have hearings on this, there are a lot of ins and outs, because they're essentially allowing two families and not requiring owner occupancy. We will have to make our bylaw conform, but we still have choices about what, we're given some leeway and restrictions, and we will get this up to speed and, starting in the new year.
Right,
But that's coming up.
Work through the process, and what I shared with Jeff was I would hate to lose some of the features in Littleton's bylaw that are less restrictive than the state bylaw.
Right.
State requirements, so as we.
But we have to have hearings because people might have strong opinions about it. We also, for Springtown meeting, need to bring forward a FEMA floodplain maps update.
And where 10 years ago when we did this, we just scratched out the old panels, add the new panel information. This time FEMA and MEMA are actually looking for us to update the floodplain bylaw to better reflect the state model bylaw.
So we will be working on that and bring that forward at Springtown meeting. Is there any public input?
No.
And it's 7:00. We're 20 minutes late for the next item, the 95 Taylor Street, Strawberry Farms, A&R to the Water Department.
So we don't have an A&R application yet. The request from the Water Department was for the developer at 95 Taylor Street to donate the open water portion of near the well site to the Water Department. If I recall the status correctly, the Water Department provided the survey points to the developer's engineer. I believe we're just waiting for an application or.
We don't actually have
No, we don't have an
drawing.
application or a plan
Okay.
to this date. I included it on the agenda on the outside chance that it would be available.
Next item, 95 Taylor Street, Strawberry Farm subdivision, set bond amount and vote lot release.
Mr. Chair, did you want to take Joe in front of the...
Well, Joe
Not anyway.
deferred, well,
If
Joe?
you could come out of order, take him.
Joe, do you want to go?
Sure.
Okay.
Good evening, board members. Thanks for putting me on the schedule, Warren. Wanted to give you an update of where we're at with 12 Robinson Road. We did work out a decision with the fire department to put a fire hydrant in the rear of the property in the event a fire truck could not get access to the back of the property. However, the fire department did come in this week. We've changed the paving layout a little bit to allow the tower truck to get into the rear of the property, which they did a test on Tuesday, and they were successful in getting that back there. So that's been accomplished, I believe. The deputy chief let you know that, Myron, or?
Yeah, you get confirmation from the fire department that they were good with pavement layout, and
You'd
access.
already installed the
access.
hydrant, though.
Yes, that was as part of the original agreement of the permit to move forward. But the concern was, could they get a truck back there in addition to having the access to the fire hydrant? And they were able to. We did work with Steve Yonley on the front of the street. As most of you know, that Robinson Road is very flat and the drainage is poor. So we talked with Steve. We did put a catch basin in on Robinson Road, and we ran 40 feet of HDPE pipe within Robinson Road itself to take care of the low spot that's in front of 12 and 18 Robinson Road. So that was a cooperative effort with the town. The town gave us the materials, we put the materials in. What I'm also here to talk about tonight is a request to allow the non-installation of a pocket park in front of the property. There's not really a lot of space there. I've had discussions with Myron about putting a bench somewhere else in town, putting a bond up for a bench somewhere else in town, or doing a in-kind work to enhance an area within the town in exchange for the release of the requirement of the pocket park. I do not believe that pocket park was a requirement of the site plan approval from your board, but we really don't want the public sitting in front of the house and private property, so. And I did also discuss this through the Historical Commission. They do not have jurisdiction on the landscaping. Their jurisdiction is within the house. We do have the Baker House sign, which we're going to put back up on the house. They do not want that sign put up. They're going to put it in storage, and they would like something else, which we will work out the details on that. I don't know if that will be a plaque.
Yeah, and actually, I heard directly from Linda Stein, the chair of the Historical Commission, that given the wording of the historical restriction, there will need to be some sort of plaque on the house with the current description and some historical information. And so that will go on the house or nearby somewhere. But the Historic Commission has the authority to deal with those details.
And that's correct. And we're willing to, I don't know if we'll make up a plaque or I don't know. We haven't worked out the details on that, but certainly we've been working with Historical Commission. We funded half of the preservation person that has come out and inspected the house and observed the remodeling work that we've done and restoration work. So we're very close. We hope to put the 2 units, the duplex units in the back of the property on the market next week. We're finishing the farmhouse and the barn. Those are almost there, and we'll invite your board through and other boards when they're ready for you to come and see what we've done. But we're rounding third base, trying to steal home plate.
Don't use the word steal.
We're trying to score.
Okay. I want to clear something up. I recuse myself from the approval of this project because I am legally in a butter. I'm within 300 feet. So, I'm going to let the vice chair
Thank you.
take over.
I don't remember us ever making you put in the park at all? This is all news, I think.
Well, it was on the plan, Mark.
It was, well, here.
It was gonna be a bench, if I
Yeah,
remember.
right,
correctly.
it's not a park, it's
It's-
like a
it's right
little.
here.
Yeah, a little bench.
Right
Right
there,
area and a
right.
bench, yeah.
Right.
Mark, this was the original
Yeah.
thought.
But,
The bench was there.
Mr. Vice Chair, you're correct. It was not part of your site plan review requirement. It was, my attorney that did the permitting thought it might be a nice feature, and I honestly lost sight of it with the restoration work, and when it came time to start working on the landscaping, I'm like, this is not gonna work there. I mean, there's a utility pole there, there's a tree, it's just, so,
So my point is, it wasn't part of the approval, it was something you offered to do.
yes, that's correct.
Right, right, so the request has come in for the board to consider an alternative to what's shown on the approved plan. Heard from Steve Yonley at DPW, because the question was, I had heard the possibility of the quote, lost land that's at the end of Robinson Road at the intersection of Great Road. That
Is that the way
landscaping,
they refer to it, the lost land?
that's.
No one has responsibility for it,
No
That's-
man's
and it's a wreck.
No man's
Yeah.
land, yeah.
Well, whatever. So that was one possibility for the board to consider. DPW director said that as long as the sight lines for driving and viewing
Correct.
and snow plowing operations for, Robinson and Great Road are not impacted, then that might be an accept, that, under those conditions, he had no concerns with that location. It's really up to the board to.
What about just putting it in the comment?
Well, that was,
Put a bench in.
that was my thought, but I know that maybe the garden club, I don't know who has jurisdiction over the common, if that's the DPW. Certainly, we're willing to do whatever. And Maren and I have discussed if we need to post a bond to do that or just hold money and do it in the spring or an agreement, whatever.
Right, posting, asking the board to post set a bond amount now provides time to have the conversation about where the town would like to have this.
The other option in lieu of a bond is when I go to sell the fourth unit, Henry doesn't give me the occupancy permit until I install that bench somewhere within the town,
Yeah,
which I'm perfectly, however, you're willing to do
Any
that.
idea what we're talking, how much we're talking?
$2,500.
$2,500. I mean, I don't care if
You have a,
I see that, I'm good, before, I'm just gonna stick $2,500 if we leave it up to before you sell the last lot. Which
Okay.
Somebody's time, go ahead and Ms. Colley.
You can't put it in the common. The garden club was given total control of the common park area in 2017 by a vote of the selectmen. And the garden club, to my knowledge, has decided there are enough benches in the common. They let the Rotary put that clock and the benches there around it, but we're very tentative about that. You could certainly talk to the garden club, and the garden club used to maintain the little island down there at the end of Robinson Road. I'm not sure why they stopped.
so,
And
I just want to make one other, with the Community Preservation Act, we have something called, I'm blanking, but it's basically when donations come in, if they are run through the CPA, then the CPA gets credit from the state for a bigger match. So, we could determine to put the money in a particular bucket, maybe it's historic bucket.
I have no
because-
issue with that. Certainly, we can do contributions to the sidewalk fund, whatever. I have no issue if,
Why don't we figure it out by the time we get to the last year?
that's fine. Okay,
You okay with that, Anna?
Sounds good.
Yeah,
okay.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Maren, thanks for your
You're
help.
back in charge.
Next, Strawberry Farms. We're here to set a bond amount and vote the lot releases. Now, as part of this, I'm gonna ask Maren or Mark to give a little quick
outline of the process for these subdivisions.
I'll let
because-
Karen handle it.
Okay, well, you've gone through many of them, I think, I have not gone through the whole process since I've been on the board. So, we've had a covenant.
Right, so the subdivision control law lays out the process for securing the work to be completed. So when the planning board approves a subdivision, you include a condition that requires security, and that security assures, the agreement, that security assures that the work will be done by the developer in accordance with the plans, and that the town basically needs some sort of process in place to finish that work if the developer should not complete it. First form of security is always a covenant. That's the this agreement that's in place now between the town and the developer that says no building permits can issue until the covenant is replaced with a alternative bond, type of bond. The town in the past has accepted two different types of bond, either a cash bond or a tri-party agreement for work to complete a subdivision. And we're in the process of trying to make sure we understand the amount that bond should be, and then the type of bond is up to the developer to work with town treasurer on those details.
In the old days, and Mr. Cataldo can probably attest to this, we asked for cash.
Cash only, yeah.
Cash only, for
And then-
years. So
then-
before you put a shovel in the ground, you gave us passbook with cash. Now we do a tri-party agreement, and no lots can be released until there's some sort of security on a subdivision, and that's the law.
And I want to point out that historically, there have been some big problems.
We've had
Yeah,
a couple
Apple
of-
Door
Yep.
and et cetera, so.
What's the one, Mary Shepherd? We had to actually take the bond, and by the time they were done, there was not enough money in the bond to finish the roadway as best we could.
And this is done to protect the homeowners.
The homeowners that
Well,
buy.
right.
The developer walks away.
Right, to protect the taxpayers from having to pay to finish the roadway, and to protect the future homeowners at this site, to assure that the work is done in accordance to the plans.
So before us, we've asked our peer reviewer to set a bond amount, which
Yep,
they have done.
Right, we got the initial request from the developer's engineer. Green had reviewed it. We had a meeting this afternoon, back and forth between the engineers to come to an agreement on the amount. We have letter after the meeting with one number. I heard back from Green International that there were a couple items that were missing from that amount. So if we add $9,000 to the subtotal before the contingency, and then add the contingency, the total would be $55,920 as the requested bond amount,
So,
or recommended bond amount.
so we have the initial go-round was 67 something. And then it was 45, and then it was 55. I mean, I'm looking at this,
This feels like it's not baked yet, and especially if you all just had the meeting today.
Can I speak?
sure, absolutely,
Do you want me to stand up there? or-
No, you can stand right there, you're fine.
I'll sit next to Joe, he's lucky.
okay.
So, a couple of things, thank you for hearing us this evening. I know you just had a brief discussion about GL Chapter 41, Section 81U. I just wanted to clarify this because as we move forward, I think it's important, Jeff, as you would ask, to understand what the law says. So before an endorsement of a plan, the planning board shall require the construction of the ways and the installation of municipal services be secured by one, or part by one and part by another, of methods described as follows in clauses. There are 4 different methods of bonding as we discussed with Maren several times over the last few days. Mark, you're probably very familiar with this. The 4 are cash, tri-party agreement. Cash can be cash or securities. The first is an insurance bond that is allowed under the state. So the 4 can be used in combination with each other. They can be singly used. You could have 100% cash, you could have 100% insurance bond, you could have a tri-party agreement, mixture of all 4 of the elements. However, it's not the town that gets to select. By state law, it's the applicant that provides the security. And the security is provided at the applicant's discretion. And I'm quoting exactly from the law. So there may have been a time where only cash was accepted and only cash was required. However, the state law that you guys have adopted as well require or allow 4. And those 4 different can be mixed. Those 4 are all accepted by every town in the state and required by state law that all 4 are required and accepted at the applicant's decision. So we shared this conversation earlier today. I went back to our land use attorney, who happens to be a municipal attorney for many, many cities and towns around here. And he sent me a copy of it so that if the question came up this evening, I could read it to you. But all 4, Maren had brought this forward when she returned, that the town of Littleton doesn't allow an insurance bond. That they have never, in her experience, allowed an insurance bond. That may be the case for subdivision. However, it is an allowed method of bonding. And Massachusetts state law allows the applicant to provide it. We're actually going to provide it to Henry when the time comes. But it is an instrument. And I'm sure Joe can tell you, and I can tell you here this evening, we have insurance bonds posted in this town now. In order to be able to start the project, the Water District, Littleton Power, the town requires bonds, and we've provided insurance bonds. Our insurance carrier is Liberty Mutual, and to my knowledge, they're used statewide.
So there are 2 issues
Sure.
here, and one is the bond amount,
Correct.
and then the other is the nature of the bond.
The nature of the bond, in all respect, is not the purview of the planning board. It's state law, and I believe it's up to the building inspector at the time that we provide it. We're leaning towards providing a cash bond. We spent about an hour on the phone this afternoon. Maren set up the call. There was some misunderstanding on Green's part, what was supposed to be included in the bond. Again, as you know, state law provides that the purpose of the bond is to ensure that the developer builds the infrastructure. The infrastructure includes the utilities, the drainage, et cetera. So in Green's original estimate, they were providing for work on individual lots. As an example, they were in the estimate, they included the bond for the stormwater, unrelated to the drainage in the road. And they required a large number in their estimate for removal of sand and gravel on the property. Those tasks that we were agreed this afternoon are not allowed to be added to the infrastructure bond.
So can I interrupt here, since I've been here the longest and everything else? Just because I know you're kind of new to the process.
Yes.
So along with Maren, I'll tell you how things normally go. You get an estimate from Green, they both agree to it. Green sets the amount. We go back to them with an agreed amount between the 2 of them. We're not going to be referee, they agree. But correct me if I'm missing something, Maren. They come up with a number. If they're going to do a cash bond, great. They issue the password. We tell the building inspector to release the bonds, boom, we're great. If they give us anything else that we've never seen or heard of before, or a company we've never dealt with, or anything at all, we're going to send that to town council first. So before you're going to get a release, town council's going to say, yep, this is a reputable company. So that's all. So all we're talking about is a number that you agreed to with Green. That's it.
We agreed to a number with Green at 4 o'clock.
Okay.
Which,
5 minutes ago, we received an email stating that Green missed 2 items that were on the original
So-
estimate. We're going to accept Green's number.
Okay.
We're not disagreeing. So the number is hard and fast. I mean, we'll bond it. If it's incorrect, we'll ask for a release, but
Okay.
it doesn't really matter.
So as long as you two agree,
We agreed earlier. We agreed at 4 o'clock. I thought it was done.
we're
But as
good.
I said, 5 minutes ago, we got an email that said that they missed $9,000, including a 20% upswing, and it brings it from 40-some odd thousand up to 55,920.
Okay.
So we're fine with the number.
Okay.
Fine.
Um,
So let's go on to the next, and I'm not sure I have this correct. The next step, once the bond is in place, is to have the lot releases.
Mhm. We
Okay.
sign.
So we will tonight approve the bond amount, and then it's up to you to get the bond.
Absolutely.
But as Mark and Mara have told you, they will analyze how that bond is,
No issue.
okay,
None whatsoever.
fine.
There was one other point that Mauron asked us to bring forward to discuss this evening. As part of for our ability to get our building permit, the stormwater ordinance requires that we, and you voted on our stormwater already, approval of our stormwater. There was a discussion originally that the discussion was that they thought that the stormwater should be included in the infrastructure bond. We worked through that over the past couple of days, and the stormwater for each individual home, not for the project, was separated out from the infrastructure bond. In reading the ordinance and understanding it, and in every other town we've worked in, and understanding Littleton can be different, there is no bonding requirement for stormwater in an individual home. The bond is when you submit your building permit, you've already approved the stormwater, and before we can get the occupancy, the engineer has to sign off that it's installed in accordance with the plan. That's how all the other towns that we work in. There was a discussion that there may be a requirement for us to bond that work, and that should be discussed tonight at this meeting.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't
Absolutely.
just stormwater all being dumped into the middle, into one catch basin?
No,
So
sir.
each lot's gonna have its own, it doesn't tie
By
into...
by Massachusetts state law, Mark, every individual home now is required to have its own stormwater. That some may, in our instance it does not, but in some instances in subdivisions, you may have a pipe that runs from a gutter into an infiltration basin or detention pond. In this specific project, it's not the case. All of the roof, the rainwater generated from the roof on every one of these homes is collected in the gutter system through a downspout into a 6-inch pipe, and it leads to a Cultec system that's underground, and we replenish all of the water from the rain into one specific area and regenerate it back into the
I
earth.
agree, we have no jurisdiction over
Well,
that.
Hey.
no,
What do you
I
mean?
wouldn't say that about you.
Well,
So
no,
this is
but
the
we're
first-
talking about
this
bonding
is the-
jurisdiction.
Right, this is the first subdivision that's being constructed that's under the jurisdiction of the stormwater bylaw. You reviewed the stormwater, at the same time, you reviewed the subdivision and the the subdivision, and that was part of the decision. The stormwater bylaw allows for a bond, and the question is whether or
It
not.
does not allow for a bond. The language does not say that. If it was required to
If-
put a bond, it would say that in acquisition of the stormwater permit, a bond is required. That's not what it
doesn't say
says.
required,
It
it
doesn't.
allows the town to set a bond, and the question is the board interested in holding a bond for the stormwater work on each lot?
My feeling is that that would be a belt and suspenders, where the suspenders are the closing out of the building permit, which to me is sufficient. I mean, you wouldn't be allowed to get a CO without.
You cannot.
And this is where I appreciate having the experience of the board members in how other towns operate.
Well, I see these underground structures in every project I'm working on now, and sometimes they're really substantial.
They're expensive.
Yeah.
There's no question.
Yeah, I don't think we have jurisdiction over the gutter system the infiltration right there and everything else, I don't see us, we're bonding the road so that he can
Correct.
release his lots. I don't think
Correct.
we have any jurisdiction over.
So
systems.
your interest in this discussion was just to establish,
Whether or not.
under the new thing, what the
Stormwater
process
bylaw.
will be. And I'm pretty comfortable in not bonding the
I am too.
individual. What about you, Anna?
You know, I'm just still sitting here listening, looking at all this stuff that everything came down to this afternoon. I mean, the applicant's Hill Harbor has been here before when there's a last minute sort of rush to get things done. And this is completely not acceptable to me that we're getting an email or text message from somebody while we're still meeting. So I
So can I
think,
address that to you, Anna? 'Cause
so I really think that from my perspective, Mr. Chair, I wouldn't vote on this tonight.
Can I address that? So we started 45 days ago in this quest to get our release. We've been in communication. You have holidays and vacations, and people don't necessarily make decisions on a dime. Green International didn't become available to us until 4 o'clock this afternoon. Okay, so sometimes the applicant is on front of the wave, and the wave crashes on top of us. We cannot, unfortunately, control assets outside of our business.
I have to agree with Ann on this one.
Okay.
You know, I'm just saying, I have no problem with setting an amount tonight.
Okay.
I don't like working in the 12th hour, but I think she's
Neither do I.
absolutely right.
I don't.
You've known that this has been going on. You could have had a number from Green weeks ago.
No, that's untrue. We provided this to Green, more than 2 weeks ago, is my recollection of it. And unfortunately, Maren is the person that the world spins around in this town. Maren was away.
I wouldn't say that, but
I can give you all of my emails, Mr. Vice Chair, and I can fill this room with emails with my requests. I'm very patient. I have no reason to sit here in the 11th hour and request this,
No.
other than we want to start construction.
all I'm saying is, I have no problem with agreeing to a number. As long as Green and you agree to it, we're good with that. Unfortunately, it came in at the
It
12th
did.
hour, and you're absolutely right about that. It's
we knew
unacceptable,
that.
but,
Yep.
you know, we're all here, we all got dressed in our finest to come out to this, so let's get something done.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I have a motion to, can we have a specific number that we're, is it the 55?
55,
55920. Can I have a motion to?
I'll make a motion, we approve, as per Green's estimate, $55,920 to bond the road at Strawberry Farms.
Yep.
I didn't get a second from you, so I will second it. Can I have a vote?
I'm in favor.
I'm in favor.
We just need
How we-
a majority, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll sort out, we may have to sort out the,
I understand.
yeah. And at the point at which you decide how to bond that amount, then we will
I
do
understand.
the law releases.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a great evening. Thank you.
That is the last of our agenda items. Is there anything else?
Where will you- I will not be here in December. I'm going on a cruise. So
Okay.
I gotta work on my tan, I know.
Okay, I know, you're getting, looking
I'm getting,
well.
so,
So we take 2 minutes on an exciting discussion that Cooper and I had this afternoon. There was a real estate agent and a potential buyer of a property. And the buyer has an interest in somehow creating a 14 to 20 bed assisted living facility. And was wondering how that fits into Littleton zoning bylaws. Henry and I have yet to have the discussion if it somehow could be considered a single-family home, or if it would need a special permit from the planning board under senior residential development.
Is the parcel large enough to work under, isn't there a certain size of parcel that required for the senior residential development?
And I haven't looked at all of those details.
20
The
units per acre, actually.
Right, and.
But I thought,
is-
isn't it like a minimum of 4 acres?
16 beds, you know, 14 to 16 beds would, that, you know, doesn't seem an overwhelming amount for this particular parcel. But I just wanted to bring that up because the part of the senior residential development bylaw that would be a problem for this smaller development is the requirement for 50% of the units to be affordable, and with the caveat that the board can reduce that to 25% of the units. When it's assisted living and the costs are significant for any resident going to this type of facility, that's where it doesn't work.
We did reduce it for Hager.
Yes, to 25%, you did, correct.
But isn't this technically not a senior project? This is a age-in-place like the nursing home, which doesn't have, this is no different than a nursing home. It's not a senior.
And that's where I think the discussion is going to be really interesting to see, does it fit in the Littleton zoning bylaws, and if so, how?
I think it fits in more as a nursing home than it does as a senior residential.
I think we would definitely want to be very careful about anything that's a senior residential bylaw because, as we've seen from our experience with Hager, they tried everything under the sun to try to get what they wanted as opposed to what we needed out of our bylaw. And it was incredibly onerous for everybody. So I would just say if anybody comes in and says they want to do a senior residential bylaw, they need to really adhere to and listen to the fact that the bylaw is
Right,
what
the
it is.
request was
Yeah.
not to do this under senior residential bylaw. The request was, this is the type of facility that we're looking at doing. The task for
So
staff
could it be
is to.
considered a 16-bedroom, single-family home?
Well,
No, it would be
perhaps.
considered a nursing home, independent, one of those.
And isn't it available to go into industrial
Yeah.
areas as well? It's not just residential if
That can go
if it's a
pretty much
nursing home.
anywhere.
Right,
And that brings up the question, maybe we should be looking at our senior residential bylaw. It might be a little too restrictive at 50%.
right. If this smaller facility, you know, between 14 and 20 beds, is not something that can be built under our senior residential bylaw, and it seems like such a good model, how do we help to bring it to town?
We don't call it senior residential, we
Right,
call
yeah.
it age-in-place housing, which is how the nursing home got in.
And as I recall, we have a definition, maybe problem, between assisted living and independent living and, you know, this and that. So a lot of times this is a word issue. And, you know, it's
Yeah,
the type of thing where can they point to another facility that they've done like this?
They are aware of a facility under construction in Springfield.
Oh, so they haven't done this themselves?
No.
So
There was
another
there was
unicorn.
nursing background, significant nursing background in the group that is proposing it. So it did really feel like a very solid proposal. And given the type of care that would be provided at that scale, it seems like it would fit very well somewhere in Littleton.
Okay. Anything else? Can I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
you guys enjoy.
Thank you, everyone.